large volume.
Oh, I don't want to make anybody mad.
No, I don't know. Too damn cold.
Hello. I don't know what's up on my computer. What's been happening?
No, we've been having our issues, but it's mostly just...
Yeah, but I fixed it and I was doing it again. I don't know.
Did you really fix it?
Well, I guess I never really fixed it because it just started working.
It's like, I pushed a bunch of stuff and it started working.
And just as it started working, it stopped working.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. I see people joining us. Look, you guys, Janet's here. She's back. She made it.
I made it. It was cold.
Hi, Sherry.
Hi, Sherry.
Get this up on my phone just in case because the computer's restarting. Hi, Linda and Mary. Mary wants to hear about the shopping trip.
Well, let me see. It was very, very cold. So...
Sorry.
Oh.
Just getting it up on my phone.
I might have an echo in here. I didn't do as much shopping as I normally do. But
That's not saying much.
No, it is, really. I bought 6 things for the business and 3 pieces for myself personally because I have a wedding to go to in March that I'm excited about. So I bought a couple of pieces for that. But I had an ulterior motive for going to New York. And I met up with a friend of mine. Christy Maroka is a meeting planner by profession, but she's also an extreme sewing enthusiast. She actually does some trips to Europe that revolve around the sewing and quilting. But a lot of the trips she does do not. But anyways, we put our heads together a couple years ago and said, want to do a trip to New York, a buying trip for our fans and our friends. And I've done that before. It's been quite a few years. I can't remember how long it's been, but we always had a grand time. So Christy and I were there looking around and choosing some places that we think others would really enjoy and learn and be entertained by. So that was part of the agenda. So Christy and I took a look at it, and we feel the best. We can't do it this spring. We would love to do it this spring, but we just don't feel we have the time to do it justice. So we're looking right now at somewhere between August and November. So for those of you who think you'd like to come to New York on a guided tour with fabric, textiles, fashion, sewing, bag making, quilting, there's something for everybody that likes to use a sewing machine. Yeah, let us know and we'll keep you posted should we get that whole project together. But we're kind of putting some feelers out, you know, does that sound like something you'd like to do? Would you like to do it sometime in the fall? What month would be better for you? That kind of thing. So we're just kind of looking around, and Christy's working with the hotels, doing what she does best, all the logistics. And I just like to show up and shop. I can help you with the shopping. We'll let Christy plan the trip, and I'll help you spend your money.
Yeah, Sherry says, OMG, yes.
Okay, Sherry. I'd love to see you on that trip. We're going to keep it, you know, like I said, pretty much to... I can't tell you what we're going to do because there's so many options and we're not going to be able to do them all. So I'll wait until we have a little more together. But, you know, we'll visit some type of workroom, whether it's a costume workroom or a fashion design workroom or, you know, any number of things. Anybody got any suggestions and seen something cool lately? That'd be great. And we usually do a Broadway play. Because once you're in New York, it'd be a real shame to not hit at least one play. This time, I'm real excited to say I went to see Come From Away. And it's a musical. It's about 9/11. but what happened in Gander, Newfoundland. So I'm going to tell you just real quick what happened in Gander, Newfoundland, because I think I'd heard the story, but I forgot all about it. So it's a town where they had built an extraordinary landing strip you wouldn't expect from such a small town. I mean, this is a town that had like maybe 9,000 people population. But the reason they have all this landing strip is because back in the day when we didn't have such high-powered, fast-moving jets, planes coming across the Atlantic would stop there to refuel. So it was, it's right on the ocean there, and it was easy access and a good distance that they could stop and refuel. I don't have to do that anymore, but the landing strip was still there. So on 9/11, when they stopped all air traffic coming over the U.S., 20 planes had to land in this little town, and there were 7,000 people, crew and passengers on these planes, and this small town had to take in all 7,000 people and feed them and house them and clothe them. And so it's, and they do it in a very joyful manner. It was lots of interesting stories from the passengers. And
yeah, Anne says she saw it and it was awesome.
Okay, yeah. So anyways, if you're going to New York, that's one I would just highly recommend. It's like an hour and 45 minutes. There's no intermission. There's no breaks. It's just one long act, and it's well worth the price of admission. So anyway, we found lots of great things, some new things, and we'll be keeping you posted. So shopping was fun. It was really cold, though. Very, very cold.
Okay, so Lee says, I just got here. Sounds like a New York trip. Yeah, Janet is, that's what we're talking about. After going, Janet is throwing around the idea of doing a shopping trip with you guys. So, we already know Sherry wants to. Rose says it sounds good. Anne says she's in. Susan's interested. Jackie, Mary, all right.
Good. And, grab a friend, and not to worry for those who might be a little intimidated by the big city of New York and the traffic and the crowds and things. We take care of all that. We just make everybody get out of town. No. We take care of everything so you don't have to worry, will I get lost? Will I be in a wrong neighborhood or anything like that? We stay right up in Midtown most of the time. There's one really great fabric store downtown that we might have to take you to. But, yeah, it's we'll take care of all of that logistics and help you maneuver around the city.
Yes, so, yeah, it's really fun. And for me, I like to go out and explore, but it's always nice when you're going to a new place to somebody tell you what to do, kind of. Point you in the right direction.
And we're going to mix that up.
Yeah.
So there'll be some guided, and the first couple of days most likely. Yeah. And then once you're comfortable, and we'll be staying right in the garment district. So all these fabric stores like Mood, but there's tons of them, are all in this one section. And our hotel will be pretty much right there in that section, or if not smack in the middle of it. So it's only a couple blocks this way, a couple blocks that way, and you can run back and forth to the fabric stores and all the cool restaurants. And, there's just tons of stuff to keep you excited and occupied.
So you can bring a friend or meet a friend.
And we know where the UPS store is because we ship. Some of us have to ship.
Bring a friend's address so it doesn't get back before you.
The one year I found African wax prints for $4 a yard. Koos Vandenecker was working on them. And I said, those are really cool. Where'd you get them? And he said, he told me right where to get them and what he paid. And I went there and they tried to charge me more. And I said, but Koos got all right. And they gave, I had to drag the bag, literally drag the bag back to my hotel. They didn't ship. And I couldn't pick it up. So about 6 bucks.
I didn't think that one through.
No.
But no regrets.
No. That was
no regrets.
No, of course not.
All right.
And it wasn't cold, so I didn't mind it.
So just, make sure you're on our newsletter list. You can sign up through our website, islandersewing.com. Keep an eye on that. Of course, we'll be talking about it here as well.
Oh.
Like Janet said, there's nothing planned right now, but it's definitely in the works, and we're just feeling you guys out. But it seems like a lot of people would be interested in it.
Yeah, just be ready when we do announce it, because we can only take about 20 people.
That's even a lot.
Well, yeah, it is. And Christy will be putting the word out to all her people, too. So,
it'll go fast.
Yeah, it'll go fast. It will, I think. It'll go fast.
All right. Jillian from Australia. I'm very sorry that you're having a hard time sleeping, but I'm glad that means you get to be here with us. And she has wonderful things to say about you and your craftsy class and your products.
Oh.
Sorry, guys, I'm having computer issues today, so I'm trying to look at this on my computer. I mean, that's not that far off. Okay, so that is a little bit about Janet's New York trip. I'm sure in the next week or so.
Yeah, I'll share some more.
We'll share some actual visual things of what you got. Mm-hmm. And thank you all for being here with me last week on the live sale. That went well, and I think we have some happy customers out there. If you didn't already know, we do still have fabric on the website for 50% off. It will stay that way
until it's gone. We're clearing
but
out.
But it is clearing out quickly. So if you're interested, islandersewing.com. You could just go to all fabrics, and everything that's on sale is very boldly.
Yeah, it's mostly
shown.
Shirting,
with red. It says sale.
Shirting, some linen, a couple things like that.
Yeah. Yep. But it is clearing out. So if you're interested in any of that, give it a look. And did you want to talk about those buttons? I jotted that down.
Oh, well, that was one thing that I found.
All right, so she will show you something she bought in New York.
Well, I didn't have any swatches with me like a fool. I don't have any cut. So, I don't know. I'll show you the buttons.
Just wandering around.
I was trying to find it. I didn't even take a swatch with me. I could have just shot myself. Here I am in the middle of New York. But that French Bordeaux was very hard because it's wine. So it's not red and it's not purple. It's not magenta. So I found these great buttons in this little French trim store. So if I had the Bordeaux here, you'd see how well they lay on there. And yet they pop, so they don't blend in too much. So I was really excited that I took a chance and bought that. But we went into this little shop, and Christy said it was just like the shop she goes to in Paris. All these beautiful ribbons and trims, and they're displayed so nicely, and hand-dyed silk ribbons, just everything you could think of, but so elegantly displayed. It was a pleasure, and that is definitely one of the shops we'll be visiting when we go on our trip. Okay.
All right. Good,
so we finish our easy cape. Is anybody ready?
Are we ready? That's our third thing today. Oh, Barbara says, Sensei, did you bring me back anything from New York? We would have to see you to give it to you, Barbara.
We aren't going to see her until San Antonio. She's teaching in San Antonio, too.
Ah.
So Jessica and I have been invited to teach at the American Sewing Guild
That
Conference.
was a lackluster announcement there. You didn't build it up or anything.
And we are going, both of us will be teaching at the event, but we don't know which classes, so we can't announce that yet. But Barbara, who is a fabulous surface design artist, among other things, just great, well, you'll see. Her name is Barbara Crawford. And
Barbara Crawford Designs.
Yeah, put
on
your
Facebook. Yep.
Yeah, throw your URL in there, Barb. And she will be teaching at the event too, because they specifically were requesting to have some surface design, some a little bit more fun stuff. And so Barb will be there too. And hopefully she'll have a booth with all of her great stuff. So I'll let you peruse her website and you'll see.
When we're done here.
Yeah, don't go now. Don't miss us.
Lee, we don't know. We don't know. When we know, we will tell you.
What?
About the classes.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah. We know what we submitted.
We're not keeping it from you.
We know what we submitted, but it was a long list, and they have a right to choose 1, 2, or 4 or 5. We don't know. So as soon as we know, maybe next week or the week after, we'll let you know. We won't be able to keep it in. We're kind of excited. San Antonio.
We won't be able to keep it in. It already is coming out. We just talked.
I've already had people write me and say, "What are you teaching in San Antonio?"
We just talked about it at lunch.
Yeah.
If we were going to talk about it or not.
That's right. And we weren't going to, were we?
No.
But somebody asked.
No.
Well,
no.
Barbara just popped up.
No.
It's Barbara's fault.
It's Barbara's fault. It's Barbara's
your fault, Grasshopper.
But that's fun. That's what makes this fun. We never know what's going to come out of Janet's mouth.
I don't either. It's kind of fun to wait and see.
Okay, so this is we had the little break in between, but this will be the third and final episode of our Easy Cape sew along.
Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna go over to the sewing machine.
I guess I'll follow you over there.
You can bring the camera.
Probably a good idea.
All right.
All right. All right, here we go. Let her get settled for a second. Make sure she, is prepared. She's laughing, Barbara. I think I threw you off guard. Sorry. No, that's just how Janet rolls. You know that, Barbara. She thinks it, she says it.
Somebody said to me when I was in New York, I ran into an old friend, and she goes, "Oh, you're flying by the seat of your pants." And I said, "Well, I've tried other ways, but I'm not good at it. It's the only thing I'm good at. It's the only thing I know. Fly by the seat of your pants." So that's who I am. So anyway, last week when we ended up, we talked about how you were going to make your cuff and your collar, both by folding them in half, wrong sides together, and basting the raw edges together. So there's the cuff, and you should have done it. If you're putting a collar on, you would have done the same thing with the collar. And then I talked about lining the hood, but I did forget one important part, and that was that before you put the hood lining in the hood, you're going to put the hood trim. So the hood trim is just like the collar and cuff, where you're going to fold it in half, wrong sides together, and baste the edges together so that it's not slipping around on you. So once you've constructed your hood and clipped your curves, you're going to sew your trim on, and there's just one notch to match up here at the center. And then you're going to construct another hood out of lining. And remember, we talked last week about using a nice soft, like a jersey knit, or this one is our bamboo that we've had so much fun with for the last couple years, but a rayon, something that's light and obviously has a good complement to the color. Now, with this folded in, you will then sew your hood lining to the hood, okay? So maybe you want, for those of you who still use pins, and in this case, it's really not a bad idea, because this is several thicknesses of fabric that can stretch or walk away. So pinning that center of the hood to the hood lining is not a bad idea. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to stitch this at, let me think, was that a 1/2 inch? I think 1/2 inch seam allowance.
Okay, could you just real quick show them the layers that you have there in order.
Okay, so we have the hood, and we've sewn the trim right sides together to the hood. But we've just basted it in place because now the final seam is when we put the hood lining. And again, now the hood lining is right sides together. So it's sandwiched in here with the hood, but this is the right side of the hood. Both sides of this is the right side, which is our trim. This is the right side of our lining, because as you can see, you'll see the seam will be out here, okay? And it's usually best to put the knit against the feed dog. And why do we do that? Well, those of you who follow Islander sewing systems, you know that the loosest, the slipperiest, the piece that hasn't been sewn yet, those are the pieces that you want to put against the feed dog. In this case, I think this is best. So we're going to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance. And I'm just going to come up here. That's matched. Lay this out. Make sure it all...
We missed that. This is matched. Okay.
Remember I stuck that pin up there?
I just wanted them to see it because it was
Sure.
off camera.
Sure, I know. I move a little too fast for camera sometimes.
Yeah, Lynn, thank you, Mary, for answering. Lynn, yeah, there are still some cape kits on the website.
Yes, in this particular color.
She was just saying she didn't know if there was cape kits at all.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we have the French Bordeaux with the antique gold. We have the silver fox. And we have 2 kits left of the red, what's called ruby and black wind block.
So check it out. I'll discount it in kit form, of course. So she's just breezing through all those layers.
Oh, come on. I gotta get...
I say that, I jinxed her.
Yeah, you sure did.
Jinxed her.
Jinxed me. All right, here we go. Now, for those of you who are new to Islander, I've got my thumb under, my fingers on top, and I tilt the project toward the machine. My left hand is holding the fabric in place and guiding it up to the needle. And we're holding it with our right hand the way I described it so that the bottom layer does not go through faster than the top layer. And that's reason you really put pins in. And since we can do it with our hands, we don't need the pins. There we go. All right. Now I'm always checking underneath to make sure that my knit, because knits are a little, they're stretchy and they kind of move. You want to make sure it doesn't slide out of place, because having the raw edges of the seam allowance matching perfectly is what gives you the best look in the garment. It's going to be the most successful. So now it's just a matter of, as you can see, this is the wrong side, this is the wrong side. So take a double look at that before you sew it together, because you should have wrong sides out. And now all we have to do is turn this right side out. And we have a fully lined hood.
Put it on.
You know how good I look in these things. It's very funny, Jess.
Oh, it does look good, though.
Okay, and now you're going to baste along the bottom edge to hold those layers together.
It blends right in with your shirt. All right, sorry, I was interrupting. Baste along.
Baste along this bottom edge here, so that when you put it on your neckline of your cape, these edges aren't flipping around on you. So you just baste it within the seam allowance. So if the seam allowance is a half, then baste it at 3/8. If the seam allowance is 3/8, baste it at a quarter. Just so it stays in place until you get that sewn up. So there's our hood. And now we need to put the cuff on. Now those of you who did the Sherpa, yours is done a little bit different. You've already put your hem up. Those of us who have the other fabrics, we haven't done that yet. We're going to do our hem last. So in this case, we've mocked up what would be the side of the front and the side of the back of the cape. Okay, and this is the opening we're going to put that cuff in. It's really kind of a faux cuff, but it's a cuff. And this is our cuff. Now, one thing I need to know is where the middle of the cuff is, because the middle of the cuff has to match the seam. Now, there's a mark on the pattern piece, but when you're working with something like this, how do you mark it? And even if I stuck a pin in it, by the time I get to this part of the construction, it may be lost. Well, the center is always folded in half. So anytime I have to mark the center of something, if I haven't done it before at the machine, I just fold it in half and stick a pin right in that center. Now I know exactly where the center is, and I'll be able to match that up. Now, remember in the beginning, we had you, let me show you the other side, because the other side's more obvious, the color. It's really hard to do something that you can see well on camera with this polar fleece because the threads get buried down in. But here I think you can see what we did is we stitched along just inside the seam allowance, and I mean a hair inside the seam allowance. So the seam allowance would be like right here. And we did that because we don't want to have to pick this stitching out. And where I have my tailor points here. Okay, so then we're going to clip.
They're at the machine. Do you want me to get them?
Nah. We're going to clip right to that stitching. And that's what's going to allow us, I'll just show you quickly when we're going to sew this on here. That's what's going to allow us to be able to sew this, and then when we're done, we have that nice corner, okay? So let me clip this one, and we'll get going here. All right. So,
if you have any questions on that, feel free to put them in the comments. Any questions on anything? Almost anything.
All right, so here, remember we basted the seam allowance. So this is a 5/8 inch seam allowance, or hem allowance actually, for the cape. So this is the outside of the cape. And that basting stitch is there to tell me where my seam allowance is. Because where this is going to hit, we want this to be folded back over it, okay? And we're going to stitch that and make our way around the corner. And what that's going to do is give us a clean finish when we're done. You see that?
Yep.
So just fold that over right on.
Can you put it on the table and show that?
Sure.
Get them a better.
Okay, so we're getting ready to put our cuff on here. And the preparatory work is just to fold this on that 5/8 inch fold line that we created by a stitching line, a basting line. So we're going to fold that over, and then we're going to stitch right across here. And what that does is that when we pull this back out, you'll have this nice clean finish right here. Okay, now for those of you who did the Sherpa, your hem is already up because you turned it to the right side. So what you have to do is get those spot on so that they're flush with each other. When you put your hood, collar, or cuff on, that's what you're going to need to do that's different from the rest of us because you rolled your hem to the right side. So you don't have anything to wrap around it. So make sure those edges are flush with each other for the Sherpa only. All right, let's see. And let me make sure I'm following because I'm notorious for not following my own directions and then I confuse people. And not that I don't follow them, it's that I get them out of order. Okay, so I want you to see that this is the opening for the cuff. But you see I have the cuff way over here because we're going to sew it here and then it's going to get flipped around. Okay, so you're going to start out like this, fold that back right on that stitching line. And what is my seam allowance here? Is it a half? Yes. So a 1/2 inch. And we're going to come down right to what we want to do is come right down to this corner right here. So let's see if I can do that. Right. Remember to hang on to that bottom so it doesn't go through. Well, you can see where that 5/8 is coming in, or that 1/2 inch is coming in right here. So that's where I know I've got to stop. So let me show you how that works. All right, now, I know I want to be along this line. So if I stop and just pivot right now, and I see, well, there I am. I'm right on it. So that's good. Now, we're going to turn, this is the raw edge. We're going to turn this and go this way, matching. Is everybody with me?
So you turned just the cuff.
Mm-hmm. You've got to keep those edges even again, so make sure you don't let that slip. You know what? I need to go, I'm at 5/8 instead of a 1/2, so I want to go back. Back and go one more stitch. Oh. All right. I think that will give me a better, all right. Okay, 1/2 inch. See how I caught it. It's not too bad. It's not perfect. All right. And then we're just going to do the exact same thing at the other end. I think my thread just broke. Okay. All right, let me see what we got here so far.
Her thread broke if you missed that.
Yeah, so this is not perfect, but I have a corner. This, let me just see how this is going to turn. Yeah, all right. So this is what you'll get. And I could have folded this a little neater so that this was totally flush. But if you're off by a little bit, that's not a bad thing. But there it is. And you're going to do the same thing at the other corner. Is there any questions? I think that sometimes it might be easier for some people to do it from the other way because you've got this stitching line. So let me just do this side from the other direction. Yeah. Because sometimes the stitching line can really help you. I'm going to try to fold that tighter. And this is a project where you may want to use a couple of pins, even if you've weaned off of them, because of the thickness, and you want to be precise. I think I have to rethread.
The magic thread fairy didn't come and do it while you were talking.
I really have given up believing there is one of those.
Well, that's probably smart.
Okay, any questions? Okay, so apparently not. All right. I have a feeling that. All right. So what we know here, this will help the newer people a little better. We're going to stop right at that slit approximately. Okay. And then when we turn, yeah, this one's going to be a more successful corner. You have to be careful a little bit with the polar fleece because it is a knit, and knits do stretch. So you want to be careful with that. But this is a better corner example. You see, I've hit right here, and then it splits. And then we'll turn this out. And this is what our cuff should look like. Let me do it this way for you. Okay, and of course we're going to go back in and we're going to 3-thread serge that seam and then top stitch it down. And some of these top stitching things, and I know some of you avoid the top stitching because you're nervous about it or you don't think it's necessary. Well, don't be nervous because it barely shows in the polar fleece. The thread gets buried so deep into the fabric. And it is necessary because it adds structure and integrity and longevity to your garment.
Okay. Evelyn said she's so glad you're showing this in detail. She had to rip hers out a couple times.
Yeah, that corner can be deceptive, but if you realize that point that you cut to, when we cut right into that corner, that's precisely where you stop. You come up a ½ an inch, you should be stopping right at where that point ended and cut, and then turning. The problem could be, if you're not used to that technique, this stuff will stretch. So you want to just go about it carefully. Right. Maybe use a couple pins.
There's your permission for pins.
Okay, so then you see how this is finished now, and that you're going to do that exact same technique, and it's in the pattern guide, when you put the hood on or the collar. But remember, when you put the hood or the collar on, you want the neckline against the feed dog. Because remember, our neckline is curved and it can stretch easily, so we want the feed dog to help us keep it from stretching, keep it fed in, and you'll have more success that way. So, neckline against the feed dog without very often any exceptions in any garment. Okay, so now all that's left once you have either your hood or collar on and your cuffs is, for those of you who don't have the Sherpa, all the rest of us, after we've top stitched this area, you'll be top stitching your neckline as well. And, oh, there was a question last time, 2 weeks ago, about, oh, could you make that a cleaner finish like you do in a collar around the neckline for the hood or the collar? And I said, no, because this fabric is so thick, trying to turn it under gives you another extra layer. Then you got to top stitch it down, and it's just too bulky. However, you could finish your neckline with a piece of bias. And that's always kind of fun. And you get a piece of bias silk or something, tie silk, and bind those edges. And then you've got a real finished look. So if it's important to you and you don't want to have a serged finished look, you want a clean covered look, I would suggest that. And we show how to do that in the easy shirt pattern. I'm not sure if it's in the other hooded patterns, but it's definitely in the easy shirt. Okay, so now I'm just going to go over and give you a quick demo on, we're going to cover hem.
Cover hem.
I'm going to do a cover hem. Now the biggest problem you're going to have is where the cuff meets the fabric and or the collar. So it gets really, really thick in there. You may want to trim some of that out. Grade that seam. Whatever you need to do for your machine. I'm just going to start shy of that so we just don't even worry about that. Because everybody's going to... And do a test. Take the same amount of layers and just make a little test and make sure that you're... before you put it into your serger, that it's going to like it and do nice. Because after all this work you've put into it, you don't want to bugger it up at the last minute putting the hem in. But that is a little bit of a troubled area. And you can see how thick this is. It's more difficult to get it up under there. Now, for those of you who are... don't have a cover hem serger, then what you're going to do is serge the raw edge of your hem, watch and have your differential so that you don't stretch it out. You may want to kick your differential up a little bit so that this curved area doesn't stretch out, because just serging it, it will. And then you're going to use a twin needle from the top side to stitch it down, and then it looks exactly like a cover hem. There's no difference in the look. It's just two operations instead of one. Why am I not? So, you see that this stitching we had, fabric wants to turn on a stitched line. It just automatically wants to, even on a curve. So you won't have any trouble handling this. Just remember to use the same technique you do when you're sewing seams, is holding it properly and guiding it. And when you get to the curve, remember to honor the curve, because we want that beautiful curve in our hem. And if we try to straighten it out and then stitch it, it's going to hang a little wonky. But if we honor the curve, it'll hang beautifully. And then you can go back and take those basting stitches out. And remember, the other reason we're stitching this from the right side, not only because it's a cover hem, but also because we're easing in the excess. Now I'm using white thread on here so you can see what I'm doing. If this was an actual cape, of course I'd be using matching thread. So you can see what a nice curve we have here.
Ooh, what a nice curve you have there.
And like I said, I used white so you'd be able to see it. And you can adjust this so that it's more or less of that zigzag underneath. It's up to you, the look you want. The one thing I will tell you, that whenever I start a project like this, I've learned I have to have a new needle. I went to do this. I think I threw my samples away, but there just kept being skip stitches or loops. And whenever you see that, the first thing you should do is change your needle, because sure enough, I just took the needles out. I had 2 needles in. I took them out, put 2 fresh needles in. It worked like a charm. There wasn't anything wrong with the machine or the tension. It was just somewhere in one of those needles there was a barb or a dull spot. So then you'll have this beautiful hem, and there's nothing left to do but to wear it and enjoy it.
Or give it as a gift.
Or give it as a gift.
All right.
Okay.
So if you have any questions, we'll move back over.
Yeah. I'm going to go grab the Sherpa cape so we can just show them the finished edges.
Yeah. Sounds good. What needle are you using? What size?
14.
14.
Microtex. Jersey
Sandy.
or Microtex. I don't remember.
And you have to put the button on. Connie says you have to put the
Yes. So good, Connie. Let's see.
Well, Connie knows because she's finished hers. She's like, you don't have the
I
button.
think she's made more than one.
Yeah.
All right, here.
And you're using serger thread, correct?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so to put the loop on, cut it to the right length and make a loop. This is much longer than you need. And this, if this was the front of your cape, first of all, let me get the front of the cape. Okay. So first of all, you sew it on this way. So my loop is actually going the wrong way, you might say. Okay, we're going to stitch it down here. This is really bad. Okay, and then once that's stitched there, then we're going to flip it over and stitch it down again. So the raw edges of the braid are tucked in. And the picture's in the guide. That isn't going to be difficult. And then sew your button on, of course. But for those of you, I just wanted you to see how we lined up those edges. You see, it comes out really nice and neat, and you're no wiser that it's not encased in anything. The inside, it looks like this. So it's serged, but you barely notice it. And this is the seam we were talking about if you wanted to cover it. And I don't know that it's going to be any nicer than this. I'm perfectly happy with this look. But in either case, make yourself happy. Don't worry about me. Make yourself happy. And I guess that's it.
Evelyn wants to know if you could show how you go to the intersecting seam on the cover hem.
The intersecting seam. What intersecting seam?
Yeah.
It's a hem. You go all the way around the back. And then, well, you start at the neckline, and you go all the way around the cape. That's it. There's no intersecting seams. There is a corner on the front. Let me grab a cape with a front corner.
Okay. Sandy, are you asking what size needle? She's saying what needle number. Size 14.
Schmetz jersey size.
Schmetz jersey size 14 is what she's using in there.
All right, so. Oh, she mitered this corner. Okay.
Take 2.
Yeah.
Take 3.
Let me get one that's not mitered.
Take 4.
All right, here we go. For Michigan State.
Yeah, she says the corner is what she's referring to.
Okay, so all we do. There's the corner. As we go straight off one side, so we do the cover hem. I think you can see, yeah. Then you fold up this side, and you come straight across that one. So there's a little cross seam there, but you don't even see it. Let me get. Can you think they can see that?
I mean, I can see it.
Okay.
See the stitches like coming off a little bit.
Yeah,
there.
but when you're wearing
chips
it,
nail
you can't see anything. But it is stitched all the way across, then folded over and stitched again.
That's the other side.
Going, when you make the corner.
Does that help?
Because you really can't turn a corner by sinking the needle and turning, as you probably have already surmised, because there's 2 needles. 1 needle, you can do that. With 2 needles, you can't.
Yes. Yes. Schmetz Jersey 14 on the cover hem.
Yep. And then there is one little final step, which is really nothing, but I want to give it to you so your cape's not flopping around. It's in the pattern guide, but right here at the bottom of the cuff, you're going to stitch a little rectangle, stitching the front to the back. That's the only place the front is stitched to the back to create the sleeve. It's just underneath the cuff. Find a place just below it so that, depending on your machine, that it can handle the thickness. And closest to the cuff as possible is best. But if you can't get real close, it's okay to be a little bit lower, because it's just an opening for your arm.
Okay. Terry says, I really need one of those dress forms. Okay, stick with us, Terry. We have something in the works for you. So maybe we can help you get one of those. Jackie wants to know, why wouldn't you use a stretch needle?
I don't know.
Because she didn't.
I didn't need one. This is what was recommended. Now, if you go to Schmetz Needles,
SchmetzNeedles.com.
and Schmetz is SCHMETZ. Only one vowel. And it's just not many words have that many letters and only one vowel. But anyway, I digress.
No.
You put in the type of fabric, they've got a little guide for needles on their website. So you go in and you take what they suggest, and I've never had it fail. But there's always a first time. Then you have to...
But it doesn't mean that you couldn't have 2 different needles perform equal for you.
The jersey, the microtex, and the stretch aren't that big of a difference. A fresh needle, size 11, universal, works in almost anything. Trust me, I know. Because sometimes you just don't have that needle. But a fresh one makes the big difference, making sure that it's good and sharp and there's no burrs inside the eye. Because you do know that's where it's more often, unless you hit a pin or a zipper or something with your needle, it's more often the eye that's the problem, not the tip of the needle.
All right. Well, I'm glad to hear that, Evelyn. She said she has more cut out, but she was waiting for today to continue, and she feels good to continue now.
Okay.
Connie said she thinks she just used a universal 14.
Yeah.
So
I think a 14 is necessary, but yeah. I think when you're zigzagging and stuff, maybe the jersey can make a bigger impact. But like you said, Connie did a beautiful. I think she did too, and she's posted them. And she just used a universal 14.
So check it out.
Yeah.
Okay, Sandy, I'm gonna tell you, there are no stupid questions. So you're in trouble for that, for saying that, but you're not in trouble for your question. She says, my baby. Okay, I'm not gonna say that. She was told that there are only 2 needles for the serger you can use. Is that true? Can I use regular machine needles in my serger?
Yes and no. So, do I? Yes. Is there a specific needle for sergers? Yes. But here's the problem. There are sergers that I've owned that would only take one size needle. Another needle wouldn't fit in the hole. Things wouldn't work. It would only take a specific size needle. There are sergers that only take needles that are designed for sergers. However, universals I've had work just fine. So it depends on the serger, the needle, and the project. But I think it's a fallacy that there's only 2 needles. I think that might be germane to the serger. And a much older serger, built 30 years ago or something, might have more proprietary issues with the type of needle.
There's also a chance a dealer would tell you that to protect the quality of the machine.
Well, yes, absolutely. There is, and when you go to Schmetz, you'll see it. Put in serger. There's a specific designation for made only for serger needle, and there are some sergers that really do need to have that needle, but most home machines that's not the case.
Yes. I'm sorry you didn't get better help, but that's what we're here for.
Well, and again, I don't know the serger she has. That might have been the truth. I don't know.
Okay, Carla, that's not a problem. We have the very first episode of the Sew Along, you talked about lengthening
And either narrowing or widening.
Yes. So she's 5'9". She would like it to be longer. Go back 3 weeks. Right on her Facebook page, all of the videos stay there. So you're going to want to go back 3 weeks. Last week was the live sale. The week before that was the second.
Yep.
And then the very first, it'll say first segment of Sew Along, first episode of Sew Along, something like that. And Janet will walk you through the entire process of lengthening or putting more width to your cape. And then if you have more questions, feel free to email us, islandersewing@comcast.net.
And I think it's true with all of our sew-alongs so far that it would be really wise to watch the whole sew-along before you sit down to sew, because sometimes there are questions or things we think of in the next episode, and we
like today
give you some retroactive information. So it's really a good idea to watch the whole thing through, even if that wasn't the case. It just gets you a little better prepared. And always do a little sample. If something is new and you're nervous about it, rather than picking those stitches out 3 or 4 times and now risking deteriorating the integrity of the garment or the area that you have to keep taking out, do a couple little practices and then you'll find your own way to do it. Maybe it's a pin, maybe it's not, maybe it's a clamp, maybe it's some more stitching, whatever it is. Don't be afraid to do the tests. And I say that because I went for years never testing anything, just going at it, but that creates a lot of waters. So do your testing. It's well worth it.
They're asking what the fabric is on the dress form.
It's a muslin.
So what she says, what's the pretty fabric?
Yeah.
She's just something she had.
Actually, the back is muslin. I was doing one of those alterations that I showed you last time on how to correct for the rounded back. And so I was doing that, and I ran out of muslin. So I grabbed something out of the stash that's a quilter's cotton.
There you go. Thank you, Jen. Specifically December 18th for the lengthening and width on the cape. Thank you very much for that. Oh, yep, she said she's going to watch the entire Sew Along before she starts.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so Donna says, I found that watching while doing the steps of the sewing along is very helpful. Sometimes the updated comments that you add in the next episode is exactly what I was waiting to hear. So yeah, it's always nice. It's just like the Craftsy classes or whatever. All our videos are right here on the Facebook page, so you can pause it. Obviously not while we're live, but when it's done, it's immediately posted. So if you want to sew along with it and pause it, do your sewing, unpause. It's very, very convenient for that.
Yeah, we try to anticipate every question, but we don't always, and that's what happens. After this episode, sometimes I'll get a couple of emails. What about this? I have a rounded back. What do I do? And then I throw it in the next lesson because especially if there's more than one person asking that question, I know that it's an important question to be answered. So we have that black curly too. I forgot to mention. We still have some of that, and so we have fabulous kits on the website, and they're all Polartec. And I talked about this before, but Polartec is your best quality polar fleece on the market. They were the first ones. They used to be U.S. made, and they're bringing it back to the U.S. little by little. But it is the fabric for all kinds of sportswear and outerwear because it keeps you warm. It's lightweight. It doesn't pill. It's an excellent fabric. For these, we like these, the one I just showed you with the Michigan State on it, okay? We like these, they're fun, but this fabric, if it had been washed several times, it would the fibers begin to separate, and it looks a little ratty. I don't know a better way to put it.
Like pills,
pills, even if
it's
it
a little
doesn't,
thin.
yeah, it just doesn't look fresh anymore. Where the Polartec continues to look fresh, just continues to always, at least for a very long time, to look almost new.
Sorry, I'm just reading the comments.
I'm waiting for something.
Okay, so Sherry says she's excited to finish and post pics of the cape. Oh, and to wear it. Sometimes just showing it off to people who will appreciate it is just feels so good more than wearing it the first time. It's like, look what I did, and not everybody can appreciate the work and quality that you put into it like our sewing friends can.
Right. Sometimes you just want your sewing friends to see it. And I'll tell you, the one I've gotten the most wear out of this season is that Sherpa. It just is lightweight, and it goes with everything, and it's rain repellent, so if I get caught in any kind of rain or snow, I don't get wet. And I wore it to the nail salon not too long ago, and a woman that was sitting there, she looked up and she goes, "Oh, I really like that cape. That's really sharp." And I said, "Well, thank you. I designed the pattern and I made it." She goes, "You're really good." I said, "Thank you." But that's been one of my favorites. It's just yeah.
And they're very in right now too.
Yeah.
Very in.
Mm-hmm.
Very in. I mean, they never really have gone out.
Yeah.
But I see them everywhere.
Well, it's just so convenient to throw a cape on. It's not don't feel encumbered.
Yes.
So you go off doing your shopping, especially grocery shopping and things like that. You live where we are. You wear your coat in the grocery store.
Brenda's walking around the office right now with her coat on.
Well,
I was like, maybe she's leaving. No, I often will keep my coat on sometimes. So as far as I know, Sherry said she can't wait to post a picture. As you know, in the past, or if you didn't know, in the past with our sew-alongs, we've done an incentive for you posting a picture of your finished garment of whatever we're working on for the sew-along. So we are going to do that again. If you get your cape done and posted by 3 weeks? 3 weeks?
yeah, I think 3 weeks.
Tuesday.
Some people already have 2 done.
Right.
So.
Tuesday, February 18th. Post it onto our Facebook page, and the people who are already posted count. And you will be in a drawing to win a prize from us. So you're going to make the cape, probably going to take a picture of it anyway, so you might as well post it on our page. And Tuesday the 18th, so you need to get it in by end of day on the 17th. And we'll draw a winner on the 18th.
This red, I just wanted to point out, we have 2 kits of this one left.
2 kits of that one.
2 kits of this one left. We've got an antique gold.
So if you haven't bought your cape, what Janet's trying to say is if you haven't bought your cape kit yet, it is the easy cape. So you have plenty of time to order, receive, and make, and post a picture, and wear it before we do the drawing.
Now here's the antique gold. And this will, work on almost any complexion. And you put the black fur trim in the kit. We put the black fur trim in the kit. We have a beautiful gold and silver button that comes with it. And that also goes with the silver fox. And then we have that beautiful black curly stuff that I don't even know where it is.
And a couple in the Bordeaux.
And the Bordeaux. Yeah, yes, that beautiful French Bordeaux. I don't know where everything is because I don't know how many people have this problem.
Not very many.
Not very many. But when my husband sees things are messy, he can't take it, even if he doesn't ever work in here. So that's last weekend. He had to clean it. So we cleaned my entire studio. And I always like it when he does it, but I always have this trepidation. I better hurry up and go grab the few things that I know I want to be able to find tomorrow because he puts everything away, but I don't always know where it is. So I have a nice clean studio. Happy about that. When we were dating, he used to clean my purse.
Old.
It was
Old.
It was weird. It was weird. I come in the kitchen and he's like this with my purse. I go, what are you doing? He goes, it's too messy. You can't find anything in here.
I mean, it's true to this day.
I wasn't having any problem. Anyway.
All right. Okay, so that's the deal. Don't forget, there's still the 50% off fabrics on the website. Post a picture by the end of day 17th. And we'll be back. We'll be back next week with something.
Yeah, well, we're going to start a series on...
but not next week.
Muslins and fitting and etc. I'm not allowed to tell you everything. She gets so crazy.
The one time I let you tell them and then stuff didn't come.
Oh well. Anyway, we are going to start some discussion about muslins and fitting, particularly as it pertains to knits, because I had a few of you let me know that you're having problem with the fit of your t-shirts because you're getting an extra pleat right across here, right around the bust line, coming out of the arm side, and that is because the bust cup on your pattern isn't big enough. And so we're going to talk about that and how to correct that going forward, so all your knit shirts will hang nicely over your bust.
Okay, so we'll be back next week, and we look forward to your photos of your finished Easy Cake.
Yes, and what are we doing? Are we giving somebody a prize for that if they post?
She was sitting here while I was talking about it, right?
Paying attention.
You were like, I felt like I even had now I know there was eye contact. Who knows where she was? The 17th. If they get it in by the 17th, on the 18th is a Tuesday. We'll be here for Tuesdays at 2.
Yep.
And we will draw a winner.
I remember now. I was
Okay.
thinking about going and getting that fabric to show, so you lost me at the 17th.
I probably lost you a couple hours ago, but that's okay. Okay, well, we will see you next week with Islander Sewing Systems, Tuesdays at 2. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for coming.